even if your campaign is getting great response rates, good lead costs, good application costs, even good call costs, it does not mean it's being effective. In this video, I'm going to talk about how we actually lowered the response rates for one of our clients, but we're still able to make them more money. This is the story from a recent project I worked on where I actually was helping a client with a direct mail campaign. And the funny thing about this is we lowered the response rate and the client was actually excited about it. So here's why. A little bit more about the client. They're in the real estate investment space. And a lot of real estate investors usually are like cash offer type guys. Like you've probably seen it, like the We Buy Houses stuff. And really all they're doing is giving them like a ridiculously low offer and just saying, hey, it's all cash. It's going to help you solve your situation. And the homeowner kind of gets, people have differing opinions about it, but the homeowner ends up losing some equity. It's kind of sucks. But with this client, they actually have a ton of products and services that don't do that and actually offer different ways to help them throughout their situations, because they work primarily with people who are in like foreclosure, tax situations, like other financially stressful situations or circumstances. And they have all this unique stuff that I haven't really seen anybody else offer. So because of that, I knew like, okay, we've actually got something special here. We have a unique solution that is going to stand out amongst all the other messaging from all the other real estate investors. So when I started talking to them, we took a look into their campaign and what was working. And we saw that the campaign historically had returned at 10% response rates. And that's like insane. Like 10% is crazy. Typically like 1 to 3% is pretty good, like pretty standard, but 10% is nuts. So I'm like, okay, either this letter's insane, it's magic, or they're targeting people hyper specific. And it kind of turned out to be both. They had a super targeted specific audience with a very high pain point, and their letter was pretty solid. So when I met with them, I asked like, what's the problem? What are we trying to fix here? And they just thought they could get more responses. I'm like, okay, well, at 10% for us to get, even 12% or 15%, it's going to be hard. Like you've got a high benchmark already, but I figured, I'll take a look. I figured I would take a look anyway. And I started reviewing the letter and it was solid, but one thing jumped out to me immediately. And the key issue I found is the way they were presenting their solution was for sure bringing in the wrong type of people. So let's go ahead and get into it. So pretty much what they were doing is what I told them was I called the free money trap. So they had a situation where, or one of their solutions where they could actually give people grants. And they had pooled up some money. They were able to just pay some people's debt or loans or taxes or whatever. But the problem is these funds weren't like unlimited. They were limited, so they had to like really qualify people out. And the thing about that is it's great because they could give people the grant. And they did tell people this in the letter, like, hey, it's not for everybody. You have to go through a qualification process. There's a good chance you probably don't get it. Funds are limited, so on and so forth. So they knew it was coming, but you had all these people who were coming to this client with the idea of, oh, I'm going to get free money. And then if they didn't qualify, they would literally just disappear. Like they didn't want to work with the client. And they still were able to convert some people. But for the most part, people were saying things like, well, if I didn't get the grant, like I'll just figure it out on my own. And it sucked because they had really great solutions on the back end outside of the grant that could help them with their problem that they would really like actually could not find anywhere else. So that's where I realized, okay, this solution that they're leading with, essentially the offer that they're giving their prospects, is the wrong offer. It's attracting the wrong kind of people who just wanted the free money or handout. They didn't actually want to solve the problem. So once I saw that, I dug into the numbers a bit more to make sure that my reasoning was correct. And I found that really, if they get 100 responses, about 40% of those people are going to be qualified and like actually want to talk about the solutions and don't just say, oh, I didn't get the free money, I'm leaving. So they're getting about 40, maybe on the higher end, like 50% of those people saying, yeah, let's either they qualified for the grant or they're like, yeah, let's talk about some of this other stuff. So to kind of break down the numbers, they'd send out 1,000 letters, 10% response rate, 100 people, they get 45 or 40 qualified leads. So about 40% were qualified. So, and actually to come back to this real quick, once I saw this, I knew, because if you look at the response rate, 10% is really high. And if we can dip that even down to like 8%, or even if we cut it in half, but we could take the qualification rate and get it up to like 80, 90%, we're still going to be about the same as the current control, but we might have higher we are going to have higher lead quality, and that's why that qualification rate comes up. So I figured even if we created a new letter and we cut that response rate in half, but we drastically, doubled that qualification rate, then we're still good. Like the campaign's still performing equal to what we were doing. And I anticipated that it'd only be like a 2 or a 3% drop in total response rate. So that's when we had to go in and actually reposition the offer. So the grant was a strong hook. It was different. It got attention and it worked, but it wasn't the most scalable or profitable solution for the client either. And also, they could help more people if they were able to lead with a better solution. And that's when I came across one of their other options. It's kind of like it's like a partnership model type thing. It's very unique and it allows the homeowner to actually stay in their home and not have it stolen away by the other investors who just want to essentially screw them and give them all cash, rip the home from their hands, leave them out in the streets. The client I was working with actually had an alternative where the homeowner could stay in their home. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into it, but it was a really good offer. I was like, hey, why don't we just lead with that? Like, why don't we just say that we can do that for people? So we dug deeper into this, learned more about how it worked. I got a better understanding of it. Really became an expert on the solution, the situation of the client, what the solution was, how it worked, what makes it different, what benefits does it bring, and why it's better than all the other options. And once we did that, then I just took the control, found the section that talked about the grant, deleted it, took all the new copy that we had just created here, slid it in, and that was the letter. We didn't change anything else. We just wanted to test and see if the change in this solution was going to improve our results. Because if you change the whole letter, you don't know if it was the structure of the letter, you don't know if it was the solution. So all we did was change that solution, and then we launched our test. So what this allowed us to do is create separation, help the client protect equity. This is some more of the messaging stuff that I'm not going to get too much into. Just understand that a part of the reason why they were having so much success before with their grant offer is because it was so much different than what everyone else was saying. And this is a key part of creating your positioning, your messaging, your packaging, your offer, everything that you're doing. It needs to be way different from what everyone else is saying. That doesn't mean you come up with some weird thing that nobody actually wants to buy. What you need to do is in your industry, figure out what is everybody already buying. If you're in landscaping, are there people actively out there selling high-end landscaping services? Great. Now you just need to create your own positioning on what people are already buying. So you got to have some yard makeover. If you're B2B and you're an accountant, people are obviously paying for accounting services, but why should they get yours? That's where you become unique. You get people the same outcome. You take the outcome that everyone's already buying, that there's existing demand for, and then you create your category of it, your own position. I have other videos on this, but that's the whole concept here. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's actually a truly unique, or it's positioned as a truly unique solution. So now let's talk about the results. We did 2 campaigns for both the control and the test. So that's what these mean. The first campaign with control, 10% response rate. The second campaign with control, 10% response rate. The first campaign with the test, 4% response rate. The second campaign with the test, 10% response rate. So what happened? Even though this got 10% twice and we got 4 and 7 or 4 and 10 here, that averages out to be about 7. So we took this 10% and we brought it down to 7%. So obviously we look like the bad guys. We look like we just dropped their response rate by 30%. But guess what? Of those responses, of that 7%, 80 to 90 were qualified leads actually asking about the solution and wanting to work with them. They're not looking for free money. They're looking to work with them because the letter pre-sold them on the solution. The people already knew what they were signing up for. So when they got on that call, they wanted to work with them. They didn't just want the free money. So yes, the response rate went down. Yes, we look like the bad guys. We look like idiots until they started looking at how many people were converting over into sales and clients. And this is how the numbers broke down. 1,000 letters for both. That this got 100 responses. The test got 70 responses. The qualified leads for the control, 40 qualified leads. The test campaign, 56 qualified leads. You see the difference here. This is what it's all about. This does not matter. This is what matters. And then the close rate stays the same. I think this is going to end up closing rate because they're still this is going to end up increasing because they're still working through deals. But we just said, let's just keep them both at 30%. This is what they've traditionally closed at for the control. If everything stays the same, this should realistically probably be more like 40, 50%. they're going to get 16 to 17 deals. So more sales from the test, because again, we're bringing the right people with the right intention, with a unique solution in a specific way that actually benefits them. And that's why this works. This created a 30%, 33% increase in sales from the same amount of mail. Again, I can't repeat this enough. That's why it's so important that you package your stuff right and you get the right message to the right market at the right time with the right positioning. All that stuff is so important. If you do that, you can take campaigns and just blow them up, because doing the right things. So the lesson: response rate doesn't matter, cost per lead doesn't matter, even cost per call doesn't matter. The only metrics that actually matter are cost per qualified offer, but then most importantly, really the only one that actually matters is the cost to acquire a client. That's all you need to be looking at. Don't worry about all those other metrics. All the other stuff is pretty much vanity. It's just not, it's not good. Like there's so many campaigns and funnels and things that you can set up that can produce tons and tons of calls for like $40, $50, but it doesn't mean it's a good thing. It makes way more sense to pay $600 for a call, but sell something for 10 grand and be able to convert at 33%. So you see kind of where I'm going with that. So don't pay attention to this stuff. Even if your campaigns are getting insane cost per leads and you're bragging to everyone about it, or cost per call conducted, none of it matters. The only thing that matters is right here: cost to acquire a client. So only pay attention to that. That's why in this case we reduced response rates, but we made the client happy because they got more sales. I hope you enjoyed this video.